Welcome back, everyone. So we are moving into a lecture on core values. I want to share my personal experience before we dive into the lessons because I hope that it can be helpful and supportive. So I I've shared that over the last years, things really shifted. So when COVID happened, I remember I was building my business, coaching, teacher trainings, had all these ideas. I was even filming some things to prepare for this online yoga university, basically. And COVID hit. I remember I was in the middle of a teacher training and I walked into my room and it hit me like, this is the moment you've been waiting for. That's what I got. And I had been filming an anatomy program. Yeah, I had been doing a lot. And so I dove in. I dove right in. I was the first yoga teacher training online because I was so ready for it. And Yoga Alliance was like finally approving this stuff, right? I was gonna move forward without Yoga Alliance, but all of a sudden now we're golden. So I dropped a teacher training immediately. I was in a place of like transition and questioning. I had come to Costa Rica, I had sold everything, my kids had moved out. I had left my partnership and I didn't really know like where to go, what to do. I was definitely an imposter syndrome. I remember I told all of my coaching clients, I mean, I went to India and I've invited in Kali of all energies to invite in. And so when I came home, I had no idea what I wanted to do if I felt I was on the wrong path. And, looking back, I was because I had come from a mindset of lack, and that had pushed me to create the opposite. As a nurse, I made a good amount of money. When I started coaching, I made a great amount of money. And when I was coaching other people, it was just kind of like, well, sign up. Like, what's getting in your way? Like, just leap. And I had not experienced money troubles in a very long time. So I feel that that whole situation was to put me in a place of, yeah, maybe you think it's that easy, but it's not that easy for everybody. Um, and I remember I was in a place like I didn't know where to go, what to do, and it felt like the only other option to go back to nursing. Um, there was a couple clients that wouldn't let me fire them. And that was helpful. And here I was in Costa Rica. When I was looking for like mentorship or support, it was always like, yeah, great, pay me this amount of money and I can help you. And it was like, yeah, but you don't even know. Like I'm in a place where I've spent all the money. So I didn't know where I was going, what was going to happen. And I felt that that was truly a lesson of surrender, of developing that faith mindset, and understanding and moving from that place. So COVID hits, and I'm like, oh, this is it. Like, let's go. And I went, and it was incredibly successful. And as soon as things started to open back up, I mean, I was at one point, I was the only person in Costa Rica offering yoga. So if you Googled Costa Rica yoga, Colin Bosberg would come up. It was an interesting place to be in. So for me, it sounded and felt like I need to be offering in-person stuff. And so I left all the things I had been doing. I mean, I didn't leave it, but I wasn't full into it. I was like, oh, I could make more money offering in-person stuff. Everybody wants to come to Costa Rica. And in that was also like everybody else is offering a yoga teacher training in Costa Rica. And then welcome to what is labeled the global financial crisis, right? Where people, in my experience, there was so many options to choose from. What makes me stand out from everyone else? And I was getting back to the place where I can't fill it up, but I've reserved a retreat center. Right? I'm now paying for people to go on retreat or on teacher training. And I felt that I needed to take some time. And then hence I've like caught you up on modern yoga teacher and then the transition into back to online again. Oh yeah, I forgot. I was gently, not so gently, guided back to my path and where I was going. I was in a place of like, I don't know what to do. Like, again, I've been here a few times and I always know what to do. It's so funny. The answer to me is always yoga. And I started running. I hired a running coach and started to train for a marathon, which I just completed, by the way, in Vancouver when I went there. I did the Vancouver Marathon. And so I had hours and hours, several times a week while I was running to listen to books and come back to the teachings. And so one coach that I was listening to was speaking to the importance of core values. And I'm like, I remember like in every business program, remember I told you hundreds of thousands of dollars? Yeah, pretty much every business program taught about core values. I was like, yeah. It's annoying. I got to write these things out. I don't know what they are. I don't know what you're talking about. They're kind of stupid. I don't really have any. And I mean, I did fine. This coach was literally talking about the fact that he didn't pay attention to core values for the first 3 businesses that he ran. And he thinks that that's why the businesses failed. And I started thinking, yeah, how do I keep coming back to a place of questioning? Right? When I'm so sure of my path and then all of a sudden I'm derailed and I'm questioning my path again. It's core values. And so he's talking about core values and how they run our business. And I'm wondering, what even are my core values? I don't have any. And I started to realize like he was talking about the fact that if you don't have core values, like they're like a guide for you. They're what keep you on track. And when you don't have them, then it's easy to allow external circumstances, external forces to guide you on your path, as opposed to the internal core values. So I mean, I thought about that. So I take off June, July, August. I know this means no income. I do pretty well, so I have some, income sitting there waiting. My idea is I'm going to write an anatomy book, and then I'm going to just like move into passive income. I started writing my anatomy book. Yeah, good luck wishing I would have that done in 3 months. Somehow I'm writing an anatomy book and I'm illustrating it too. And trust me, it's been a year. The book's still not written. And that was a big commitment that I didn't really recognize how big of a commitment it was. So it's still in the works and still totally coming out, but it's definitely a lot more delayed than I expected. So I start writing and I start to realize like how much work this really is. And that maybe that's not going to be the income that's going to take over. And that means I'm going to have to go back to teacher training, right? Working for other people, because right now I'm not bringing in that many people. I'm bringing in 3, maybe 4 people. And it's pretty hard to run a retreat with 3 or 4 people when retreat centers want you to rent out the whole center, right? So of course, I coach. I have multiple streams of income. And so I have clients that want to sign up, and they're clients that can't afford it. They're clients that really aren't necessarily my ideal client. But because I don't have core values guiding me, what's guiding me is my need for money, my lack mindset. So guess what? I start to alter my offering to suit people that can't afford it. So I lower my prices and I start bringing on clients that I don't really want to work with. Now, it's not like I sit there and I'm like, oh, I don't want to work with that person, but there are red flags for me, right? One of my clients, amazing client. We actually became friends, and she has a lot going on, and she says, "Can you help me?" And of course, this part of me is like, "Yes, I can." The red flag is I've been to this person and this person and this person and this person, and I've done this and I've done that and nothing helped. That's a red flag for me that I didn't hear or listen, because the external that's guiding me is I need money. I need to be able to pay my bills. So I'm going to say yes to this person. Again, the other part's like, no, I can't come up with that amount of money. I can come up with this amount of money. Okay, great. Let's go for it. We'll do it. And then my Mondays and Wednesdays that I work, that I coach, don't work. So now it's Sunday at 7 a.m. because that person lives in the UK. Like I'm letting see, can you see, like, if we look at integrity and we look at self-care and some core values that I did discover, if those were clear to me, I would have said no. But because I didn't have these internal values guiding me, I allowed external circumstances to guide me. And what that brought me to was like actually a couple of unhappy clients, because they paid this money and then they can't make Monday and Wednesday. So now here I am, like, doing things I don't, 7 a.m. on Sunday to coach somebody. I don't really want to be coaching somebody at 7 a.m. on Sunday when I work Monday, Wednesday. That's my coaching days. So it kind of hit me as I was running, like, oh, oh, this is why they're important. So the concept of core values I started diving into them. I'm going to share my whiteboard. This is called Draw Time with Colin. Okay. What I started to realize is there's two things here. Number one, this is where you are now. And this is where you want to be. And this is the gap in between the two. All right. What this means is, okay, so let's bring out the text one. So where you are, where you want to be. Also, who you are. And who you want to be. And right here in the middle is the gap. So the line in the middle, that's the gap between who you are right now. All right. So so I want you to think about this, okay? I want you to think about the visualization that we had this morning. Right? Where do you want to be? Let's just say it's you 5 years from now, you have, what is that, 60 months of $10,000 a month. You have the clients that you want, you're living either this passive or active or some hybrid lifestyle. Whatever that looks like, you're there. So who are you now? Like, where you are right now, who are you? And for example, I'll use myself. One of the, let's say, trauma responses that I have is that I'm a people pleaser. Okay, I will sign you on as a client, and then if you're unhappy, I'll do whatever I can to make you happy, including coach you on Sunday morning at 7 a.m. when I really don't want to. Okay. That's where I am right now. That's who I am right now. Actually, it's not, it's shifting, but let's just say it's not. And where I want to be, me in 5 years, bringing in $100,000 a month. She owns 3 companies. owns and runs 3 companies that are highly successful. And one thing I know is that she cannot be a people pleaser at all, because that will keep me from the success that I'm looking for. That person who I want to be, that person is confident, right? This person is a people pleaser. What else? The woman, the CEO that runs 3 successful companies. I mean, she not only has confidence, but she holds people accountable, right? People pleasers don't do that. Like, I really need to sit down and be honest with myself. And so this is one of like the pieces of homework for you. Write this down, do your X, do your arrow, and then do your other X, where you are, where you want to be, who you are, who you want to be. So where I am right now, right, is closer to where I want to be. I mean, I said I'm very transparent. I'm going to continue to be transparent. I think I'm at about here right now. Where I want to be is 100,000 a month. That's my affirmations, 100,000 a month. Right? Like, I don't know, where am I? Struggling business owner. Where do I want to be? Successful business owner. And so that then translates to like, who am I as $5,500 a month struggling? Right? I'm a people pleaser. I'm allowing external events to guide me. I'm clearly in the fear mindset. Right? There's some other things that I can dive into. I mean, the people pleaser is really the one that I'm working with right now. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So this has been in my family. This has been me as a mother. This has been me as any of the titles that I carry. This has been me in my relationships. And so, sorry, not sorry to everyone that gets the new version of Colin, who's not into people pleasing, who attributes that to part of the burnout. Trying to please everybody is so exhausting, because I find the more that I please and the more that I avoid drama and conflict, the more drama and conflict I actually create. So who I want to be, $100,000 a month, 3 successful businesses. I mean, she's confident, she's accountable, she's unapologetic, but not a jerk. Right? Humble and abundant. So it's important that you get clear on these, because again, when it comes back to visualization, I know Monica was asking earlier, like, what do I do? So we've got visualization of your perfect day. And one thing I want you to pay attention to is who you are in your perfect day. Are you imagining yourself like running around trying to avoid conflict? Or are you imagining yourself being like, no, that's not how it is? Like, right? I need to hold people accountable. I'm a coach. I can't be nice. And nice versus real, by the way, just saying, like, I can still be kind. Yes. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Monica said, like, and then the people that you want to work with will follow that and commit themselves rather than always work around their schedule. This is one thing that I say about also, like, we've got Wednesday mornings from 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific. Adjust your schedule to make it work. How badly do you want your business to work? Do everything that you can. And if you can't, then show up and watch the recordings, right? And then participate, do your homework. That's what I mean by, like, sometimes I'll be like, did you do your homework? And be like, oh no, I was so busy. I'm like, okay, well, let's do it now. people pleasing. That's not a coach. The coach is, how are you too busy for your own business? How bad do you want this? Because I want it really bad for you. But you clearly don't want it as bad as I do, because I'm here on Sunday morning at 7 a.m. and you forgot to do your homework in the kindest, most loving way. Right? That means like you, where you want to be, have to look at the behaviors that you have that have prevented you from being where you want to be. And then in comes something called the law of sacrifice. And this one, it took me a bit to like catch on, because I was like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And so when I don't get it, I know that's like my ego. This is something big. Whenever I get confused, I know my ego, my nervous system is kicking in like, oh, death. I could die here. Right? The law of sacrifice. So in order for me to get to where I want to be, I have to sacrifice where I am. In order for me to be who I want to be, I have to sacrifice who I am. I don't know why that was confusing. In order for me to be a confident, accountable, successful coach, I have to quit people pleasing. And the reason that that's confusing and the reason that that is hard is because I am really comfortable in people pleasing. I am incredibly uncomfortable in the opposite. In saying, how bad do you want your business? Do you know what? To me, it seems like maybe you're allowing excuses to get in your way, and I don't think that I can help you. So either get your homework done and meet me on a Monday, or I think we don't need to work together anymore. From love, from the fact that I am feeling like I'm more invested in this than you are. And I've had coaches have this exact same conversation with me. This right here, this space is your shadow work. And I hear shadow work all the time. It took me some time, like, what really is shadow work? Right? It is actually that space of like the ego thinking it's going to die. So it's going to do whatever it can to survive. It's recognizing that actually if you can transcend your ego, good job. If you can, your ego is not your amigo and you can get rid of it, literally you must be Buddha. That's amazing. Right? Your ego, I don't think it's going anywhere. And there's parts of us that are dark. Right? I'm not perfect. I'm sure everyone is well aware of this. And like, I'm not perfect. I can be passive aggressive. I can be jealous. And I mean, I don't really get angry. It's like a whole thing from my childhood where I'm just like afraid to have that emotion, like, and I will avoid it at all costs. But I still get annoyed and like do things instead of being straight up. That's a shadow for me. That's something that once I shine the light on it, right? Like the idea, I think the scripture, I'm not 100% sure of which one it is that like wherever the light is, that's where God is. And so the way that I see that is like my shadow is my darkness. And if I continue to avoid it or try to suppress it or disassociate from it, that God's not there. And it's just creating more drama and chaos for me. I literally have a client that I was working with that said she wanted to buy the property next to me. And that did not feel good to me. And I never said it. And things did not go well with that client. And guess who owns the property next to me in some random rural town in Costa Rica? Like, I just dread the day she actually moves on the property. I hope she saw that. I don't know. That's not up to me, but it was like, okay, here's your lesson. You don't want to say no, fine. This person is literally going to move next door to you. You're welcome. I'm like, oh, like all I had to say was no, but I've created way more drama. And then every time something happens over there, guess what happens? More drama, more chaos. Oh my God, what's happening? Is she moving? Oh, what's going to happen? Is she going to kill me? Like, literally, I'll go there. Wow. Or I could have just said, actually, I don't want you to live beside me. And she could have been pissy all she wanted. Guess what? She probably wouldn't live beside me. But in my avoidance, in my shadow, unfortunately, I got another beautiful lesson. So when we shine the light, then we're able to see like, okay, the people pleasing is like a shadow for me. It is a darkness. I know where it comes from. It's from my childhood of like constantly reading people and doing what I can to keep the peace. Making sure my mom doesn't get too angry, making sure my sister doesn't get hit because she can't handle it. Like all of these different things that are unhealthy. This is okay, here we go. So the difference between who you are, where you are, and where you want to be and who you need to be is the hard work, I would say. That's the discomfort zone. That's the growth edge. That's our yin practice. I always equate our discomfort to like our yin practice. And so I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. And I'm going to talk about like core values because the core values are really what we're looking at in being who we want to be, where we want to be, right? They're actions and standards that must hold us accountable for alignment and integrity. Sometimes freedom can be a prison, right? Let's just think about a gas gauge on your car. Imagine you didn't have one. Does that mean you're free of getting gas in your car? No. But having that freedom of not knowing where your gas is in the tank means you're probably going to be stopping a lot more for gas, right? So that hit me like, oh, this is why I was so easy to just be like, oh, the money's in person. I'm going to go do that. Lots of people talk about how they can't connect online. Well, guess what? Those people are my clients. I don't need to change my whole business model to suit clients that aren't even mine. Oh, darn. Thanks for that lesson so that I can share with you all so that you have the opportunity to not make the same mistake. I've been in business for 8 years now with massive success and some little blips in the road. And each blip has been so, I mean, a place to teach from. So you're welcome. And I kind of want to stop. It probably won't. So I read this quote, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. So if we're looking at the X's of like, who are you and who do you want to be? You don't get who you want to be. You get who you are. And so if I don't look at and shift my people pleasing, then that's what I'm going to get. And I'm just going to keep dreaming for the future. And this is why manifestation of like, just say your affirmations and everything will be great. That's not going to get you where you want to go. There's action, there's discomfort. I would say the biggest is the discomfort. And if you're not willing to lean into it and you're not ready, I mean, sometimes those plans like aren't contingent about how you feel or what you want. They're going to happen. I always say the universe will whisper in your ear, then smack you in your face, and then hit you with a 2x4. I'm really focusing on listening to the whispers. In fact, this just happened to me the other day. I came back to Costa Rica, literally like Saturday night, and I'm checking all my luggage, and the woman says, "Do you have any electronics in your check bags?" And I'm like, "No." And so then we get here to Costa Rica and I start unpacking my bags. I have 3 of them because Costa Rica. And I go through my first bag and I'm super excited to show my partner the pool cleaner that I got. This automatic like rechargeable pool cleaner. And I noticed that my bag's been gone through. It's broken. They've broken both the zippers and the wheel, and something's missing. And there's a little card that says dangerous goods removed. And I'm like, oh, what was removed? I go through all my other bags. There's no pool cleaner. It had lithium batteries in it. The whisper was the woman saying, "Are there any electronics in your bag?" I felt it immediately when I realized there was actually electronics in my bag, a lithium rechargeable battery that's not allowed to be checked. So that sucks. We'll see if I can get my $300 pool cleaner back. I don't know if I can or not. I think I got a credit card that might cover it though, so that's nice. But like, there was the whisper that turned into a slap in the face. I got my pool cleaner taken away, and I don't know if I can get it back. And I'm recognizing these little whispers. I'm still on the back end of like, oh, that was a whisper. But I know that awareness will bring me to the place of like, wait, yes, I do have an electronic. Because in my head, I thought, yeah, I've got the pool cleaner, but she can't be talking about that. It's a pool cleaner. And then of course, once we're here, so like it literally there was God universe being like, dude, because I can carry that on. I could have carried it on. It was fine. I even checked. She's like, "Would you like to check your carry-on for free?" I'm like, "Yes, please," because I didn't want to carry anything. So I checked everything, and I could have just carried this pool cleaner, and everything would have been fine. Darn it! Darn it! Okay, thank you. I'll try to listen better next time. Try. I will listen better next time. So I've got some questions for you. Okay. Around core values. Because like I mentioned, then I started questioning like, what are my core values? I don't have any. I'm not really aware. So I want you to write down the question like, who am I? And some little sub questions are like, what's important to you? What makes you different? What in the world needs fixing? And what parts of me or you, what parts of you are you hiding? And that was helpful because what is important to me, what's important to me is inclusivity. I run queer friendly, body friendly, age friendly offerings. That's important to me, inclusivity. Funny enough, let's just look back. I've been pretty open. What's one of my stories? I don't belong. Right? So this comes from a very deep story that I have about myself. I don't belong, so I want to create space where people believe they belong, because what I've seen in the yoga community, and I know it's shifting, I'm so happy, is that, you know, if you have a bigger body, a lot of people don't feel comfortable going into a class. If you are over the age of even 28, some people don't feel comfortable going to class. And, another thing I frequent AA and NA. And one of the things that I've noticed that I feel is I prefer Narcotics Anonymous. Now, I really have never had a drug problem. In fact, I mean, a lot of people would tell you I didn't even have a drinking problem, but I do know that I drank alcohol to numb my feelings. So I see that as a problem. I also work to numb my feelings. I've had sex. I've been in relationships to numb my feelings. So I consider myself an addict. I think most people are. It's all my own personal opinion, right? I think even like running, what I started to recognize is like I'm addicted to stuff. A food addict, a drama addict, like really. And so I thought, I'm an addict, so I should just focus my attention on something where I can be just like, it can be a little more healthy. So that's why I took up running. I thought this is a way that I can just like focus my attention on something healthier than having sex or getting in another relationship or working 20 hours a day. And so when I go to AA, what I recognize is there's also like a community for AA, especially in the AAs that I've been to. They're older, they're white, they're quite Christian, and they're very judgmental. So it's supposed to be an inclusive space. And what I hear is about how queer people are wrong. And I've heard those comments made so many times. In fact, one person said that I was too fat to be a yoga teacher, not to me, to somebody else. That's not an inclusive space. It's supposed to be. When I go to Narcotics Anonymous, I see way more tattoos, which means like I see younger people, not young, but younger people. And it's a more inclusive vibe. So while I have not been, addicted to cocaine or heroin or a lot of that, I still identify as an addict and I feel more comfortable in that space. And so I feel that I want to create that space in yoga. I want people to be able to come, and I offer yoga that is very inclusive. Like there's options too. So who am I? What is important to me? That offering inclusive space. Guess what? Inclusivity is one of my core values. Okay. What makes me different? Probably that. The fact that I myself am not like a typical yoga teacher. I know that's changing. So I'm coming from a place of like how I've seen it. And I love that we are shifting and being body aware and just like calling out big business on all of this bullshit that has been kind of running us, the patriarchy, if I dare say, that line of thinking that's been running us. What in the world needs fixing? That. Definitely. One of the things that I think is like being judgmental. I looked up what is non-judgmental. Non-judgmental is someone that does not express their opinions and beliefs. So that means we still have them. I am still judgmental, but I don't go around telling everybody what they need to do, what's wrong with them. And I don't argue a lot because I don't think I'm going to change your mind. So what in the world needs fixing? I mean, I think it needs more love. So being trauma informed is really important to me. What parts of me am I hiding? Clearly that I have a lot of issues with emotions. I mean, I think that's exactly why I was such a good emerge nurse. Whatever. I'll do CPR on a baby. It doesn't bother me. I love that. That's how I felt. It's not how I feel now. The gorier, the better. Because I learned at a very young age to compartmentalize. It was all that I could do. That's where my ego is my amigo. It really helped and saved me get through my childhood. Can you imagine? We know inherently that a base need, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? We need love. The Russian baby studies, if anybody's ever heard of them, right? When there was a big war, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was with Stalin. There was a lot of orphans, and they did these studies in orphanages with babies. And what they did was they didn't love them. They fed them, they changed them, they did those physical needs, shelter, food, security, I can't even remember. They did that and they didn't love them. They didn't give them any extra touch, and they had 100% mortality rate. Why? The babies were everything that they needed, they had except love. And then in another study, the babies that were centered around the smoking room, the break room, where the nurses would go and have a break, they lived. And they said it was the interaction of listening to people like loving each other, being friends, going on break and talking. So that part of me knew that I needed love, but also felt that her mother didn't love her. So my ego taught me how to compartmentalize so that I could survive. And that made I think, a kick-ass ER nurse until it didn't. Next section, core beliefs. What are some of your core beliefs? Convictions, like what are you really convicted about? To me, like what hill will you die on? What hills will you die on? What is not up for sale or debate? Okay, so core beliefs, what are your convictions? What hills will you die on? And what is not up for sale or debate? Well, here's what I know. As I was running and thinking about not having any core beliefs, I started thinking about like a conversation, we can call it a fight, that I was in on with my partner. And I mean, I had ideals of what my perfect partner was, right? He was going to come in and he was going to be super spiritual. And that happened. The super spiritual wasn't quite in the way that I thought it would be. I thought like yoga, right? Spiritual, all these concepts that I teach, he already knows. No, and that wasn't it. It's like a completely different, like self-aware spirituality that has some common denominators in it, but it's like he also told me I was crazy yoga lady. Because I mean, these beliefs that I'm teaching you, or these beliefs, like the philosophical beliefs of yoga, I live them. They, to me, they are so important. If we call it, yoga is my religion. I say yoga is my life. I practice what I preach when it comes to it. So he calls me crazy yoga lady, and we are having like a conflict that I am learning to stay in instead of run from. And a huge belief is like what you say is true. Be impeccable with your word. I make it an agreement that we have in teacher trainings or any retreats or anything that I do that has group activities. Be impeccable with your word. Oh, wow. That, I mean, that fits. That also can fit to being authentic and having integrity. So I started writing down all of these things that are really important to me. And I had probably a list of about 30 different words that I was looking at as my core values. And I started to draw like lines to how being impeccable with your word fits with integrity, and it fits with authenticity, and it fits with vulnerability. So then, okay, and then I can put that in the description if I need to clarify that with anybody that, I think that blah, 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 blah also means being impeccable with your word. I know that no matter what, there are some things that externally influence me with finances, but there are some things that will not. Right? I think that if you want me to teach a teacher training and it does not have any alignment focus, you want me to teach like Ashtanga, which is a more aesthetic approach. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Ashtanga is like the worst or terrible or anything, but that's not what I teach. I teach more like Anusara. So if you want me to teach Ashtanga, which I think is damaging people's bodies, I'm not going to. I'm not going to teach a quick-paced, fast vinyasa. Go ahead and pay me all you want. I'm not doing it. So alignment is really important to me. And it's not just like the physical body. It's like what I say actually aligns with what I do, which is also integrity. I'm hoping this is helpful for like you, like recognizing your own core values. So I can share what I came up with, like the end result of what I came up with, because my core values are my business's core values. Okay, it'd be really weird if integrity was a personal value, but it wasn't for my business. Okay, that would be just, to me, it would be strange. I mean, you do you. So what I came up with was self-care. We believe that our bodies are our vehicles, and in order to live a life that is of quality, our health is important. Living an active yogic lifestyle of moderation, nutritious food, and self-love is essential to attain that. Integrity. Integrity is the foundation of everything we do. We uphold high ethical standards, act with honesty and transparency, and consistently align our actions with our values. Environment. We recognize that our personal environments, both physical and emotional, play a significant role in shaping our well-being and vitality. We commit to creating spaces that nurture and inspire us, free from clutter, negativity, and distractions. By cultivating harmonious personal environments, we enhance our capacity for growth, creativity, and inner peace, which then extends to the world as a whole. More awareness around less waste for the planet that keeps us alive. Inclusivity. We welcome people of all backgrounds, identities, and abilities into our community with open arms. We believe in creating a safe and inclusive space where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued as they are where they are. Together, we create an environment of empowerment, abundance, kindness, and collaboration. Authenticity. We believe in being transparent, real, direct, and vulnerable in all of our affairs. Agreements. We believe in the power of clear and mutual agreements to foster trust and safety within our community. And alignment. We believe in the importance of aligning our postures, thoughts, words, and actions with our deepest values and aspirations, ensuring that our endeavors are guided by clarity and purpose. This took a long time, which is why I think I avoided it in the beginning. Whenever I question, I come back. Okay, this client wants to work with me. Does it hit all of these levels? When I was creating them, like for me, I think self-care is important. And one of the things that is vital to my self-care is a clean environment. Sometimes to my detriment, where I will clean like every little thing before I do anything. And I know that that's a way that I procrastinate through perfection. And it's a ritual for me. I come home and this month that I was in Canada, I ran a marathon. I went and I saw my sister. That was helpful. I went and saw my mom, and that was a lot. And she started drama, not with me, but other family members. And then I went and I ran a yoga teacher training where I had my sister and my daughter in it and held space for a week of very deep and personal work. And then I went to my other daughter who told me, by the way, I'm pregnant and helped me move. And then I orchestrated and facilitated conversations between her and her sister, her and my other daughter and her partner, and my ex-husband around my kids. And I came home and I remember being on the ferry, leaving Nanaimo, like Vancouver Island, and I was talking to my partner and I started to cry. Like, I'm holding a lot. I've got a lot. And my ritual, my part of self-care is the cleaning. I know when I clean my environment, I'm able to clean my internal environment as well. And that really helps me. And I don't know anyone that has like a very cluttered space that isn't also cluttered in their mind, right? How you do anything is how you do everything. So I consistently talk about, it's one of the things in the program that we look at is let's clear up the energy leaks. And again, coming back to these core values, it reminded me like, oh, I've got a lot kind of hanging in the ethers here. I have several clients in which we came to a point where part of my package used to include doing a one-on-one retreat here in Costa Rica with me. And so people would come and they would still have some calls left. They would come and do the retreat, and then these calls are just kind of like hanging out in the ethers, like not being completed. And I thought about a couple sales calls that I had where people were like, I'll get back to you. And I was people pleasing. I didn't either say like, what day are you getting back to me? Or like, this actually sounds like a no, because I want people that are ready to go, right? So the environment piece came to me when I was looking at it like, oh, I have a lot of energy leaks. Let's close these up. This is a part of my burnout. If my energy is going into 87 different cups, and I'm not taking care of myself, I'm going to burn out. And that's what happened. So let's close this up. So I actually like wrote a list of all the people where I have energy leaks. And I told them, and I'm like, it's not like a bad thing. It's just like, I'm out there like, how are you? I wonder what's going on. We should have a call. And then not making anything like, listen, we're having a call on this day. So I started this. I love you. I'm super excited to finish up our last 3 sessions. I want to hear back from you. And here's the link to book a call. If you don't book within 10 days, I'm just gonna assume that you're complete with our program, and I'll close us out. Everybody got back to me. Of course, what was amazing was everybody was like, I can't believe you got back to me. I was like thinking of you because this happened. Like, of course, it was perfect time, divine timing. Here we are, and let's finish up. So this is how, like, demonstrations of how these core values can be very helpful to direct our lives. And so I started writing them out, right? I wrote down like Colin's core values: alignment, integrity, being impeccable with my word, personal responsibility, inclusivity, and agreements. All I had to do was really like look around, like, how do I run teacher training? How do I run my relationship? I won't even get into a relationship without agreements anymore. We need to be clear on like where we're going together and how we're going to communicate. And because what I've witnessed is not having any core values, not having agreements, and then not really working out really well with my ex-partners because we're not together, which is fine. When I look at who am I and what's important to me, again, integrity, yogic lifestyle, environment, personal responsibility, inclusivity, alignment, agreements and boundaries, respect, physical health, a clean environment. What makes me different? I'm queer. I have a bigger body. I'm real. I have great discipline. I practice what I preach. I'm inclusive and I have integrity. And I don't, also, by the way. What needs fixing in the world? All of the above. We need inclusivity. We need to stop competing and start collabing. We need to empower each other. We need to have integrity. We need to be real. We need to awaken. We need to have personal responsibility. What parts am I hiding? current financial trouble, depression. I am out of integrity. These are a while ago. So what's my mission? So then we start to get into like mission statements and what we're here for. I thought that was all just a bunch of BS. I think of like the mission statement of like Procter and Gamble. I don't know. I'm just thinking of like a big corporate. I mean, do we have a buy-in from all of the employees of Procter and Gamble? And is there any concern for our environment? There's to me a lack of integrity. There's people saying things and then not practicing them. Someone saying, "Let me teach you how to be rich running a spiritual business," when I'm not rich running a spiritual business. Like for me, that's what I think why I avoided those for so long. And I bet now I can understand from a different place of not judgment that I bet a lot of those people don't have core values. They skip the core value lesson as well. So I want to just like see how this is landing. Questions, comments, concerns.